From the star of Yellowstone risking his acting career, multi-million-dollar status, and reputation, to the actor taking out a mortgage on his California home to make Horizon happen, here's how Kevin Costner is gambling away his career. Everyone agrees leaving Yellowstone was a big mistake. You could say that after the disaster that was Waterworld, walking away from his role as John Dutton III was the biggest misstep of his career. Kevin was there from episode 1 in 2018 when the series creator introduced the world to John Dutton, the man who owned the largest cattle ranch in the United States. The show was centered around Kevin's character and his relationship, or lack thereof, with his kids and everyone else who crossed his path in trying to take over the Dutton Ranch. The Western quickly drew praise from critics for its amazing storyline, well-crafted characters, and, of course, Kevin's acting chops. He's won a Golden Globe and has been nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award for his role. Still, you couldn't convince the star with all the money in the world when he finally decided to up and leave in 2023. This came ahead of Season 5, and Sheridan was apparently trying everything he could to convince the leading man to stay. Apparently, despite all the rumors going around, Kevin's exit was for a few pretty straightforward reasons. He wanted a higher salary, more time off, and more creative liberties for his role. This obviously wasn't going to fly by well with Sheridan, who was already paying Kevin the highest cut of all the actors, and wanted to be the person solely responsible for the storyline. This had happened once before too, back when Kevin was filming For the Love of the Game in 1999, and almost walked off set because he wanted more say in how the story should pan out. He stuck around back then, but this time it looked like Sheridan was ready to give him the boot. The show's creator had reportedly wanted to turn Yellowstone into a 10-season Western, but faced with having the leading man threatening to walk away, Sheridan decided it was best to wrap up after Season 5. Kevin himself confirmed that he wouldn't be a part of the show's final season, Season 5 Part 2. Fans of Yellowstone were understandably shocked by the news. After all, what good is a Western if Kevin is not in it? Well, they'll get to see the actor giddy up a lot sooner than they thought, because he's working on his own Western. Written, directed, and produced by the man himself, Kevin Costner is coming back as the leading man in Horizon, an American saga, in June 2024. Interestingly, and it's too big of a coincidence to rule out, the final season of Yellowstone is coming out around the same time too. Horizon, an American saga, will be a two-part Western film set in the post-American Civil War period and focuses on the expansion of the American West. Kevin's obviously at the helm of the project, writing, directing, producing, and starring in it. But did you know he's also financing it? Kevin shares an interesting history with this passion project of his. He had originally pitched the idea to media houses starting in 1998 and had finally landed a deal when he approached Disney in 2003. Still, with his many other writing and acting commitments, he wasn't able to dedicate his time fully to the Horizon series. That's right, Horizon is set to be a 4-film series, with the first film being split into 2 parts. Kevin's apparently excited to finally start work on his passion project, and many believe that's the real reason why he walked away from Yellowstone. Sure, he might have alleged that it was because Sheridan wasn't meeting his demands, but many fans are speculating that Kevin wanted an out anyway, and the fallout served as media coverage for his film series. So, a win all around for Kevin Costner, right? Don't bet on that just yet, because if you take a trip down memory lane, the actor's projects have mostly been flops. To set the record straight, Kevin is probably celebrated as one of the best actors in Hollywood. That still doesn't save him from the occasional flop. Kevin's luck in the industry hasn't been that great. Sure, he managed to strike gold with Yellowstone, Dances with Wolves, and Field of Dreams, but his portfolio includes a lot of flops too. We're talking about The Postman, Waterworld, and 13 Days. Those are just a few, by the way. Horizon's future is still up in the air, but Kevin has full faith in his Western. So much so, in fact, that he's willing to front millions of dollars to get the project running. Hollywood is no stranger to passion projects, and having actors, producers, and directors spare no expense at making them happen. But this is the 15th time in 33 years that Kevin self-financed a project. Like Kevin's acting credits, not all of them have worked out. Riding off the fame from Dances with Wolves and Bull Durham, the actor first decided to fund his 1990 romantic thriller, Revenge. The film was anticipated to become the biggest hit of the year. After all, it was based on Jim Morrison's best-selling novella and had Kevin Costner in a starring role. Warner Brothers bought the rights for the film almost immediately after the novella was released, and Kevin apparently worked his way to getting the starring role. Rumor has it, though, that John Huston, the man who was supposed to direct the film, walked away from the project after not seeing eye to eye with Kevin. The film took 11 years to get off the ground, and Kevin had to funnel some of his own money to make it happen. Do you want to know what happened next? Yup, the film bombed and the actor lost a lot of money. This didn't stop him from funneling more money into other projects, though. Revenge was just the tip of the iceberg. Kevin funded The Bodyguard too, and the 1992 blockbuster hit was enough to keep him funding many other projects throughout the years. You might remember his starring role in 1991's Robin Hood, Prince Among Thieves, which is remembered today as one of the worst films ever made, even though it did fairly well at the box office. The reason why the film was panned, though, was because Kevin had the world's worst English accent. In fact, Kevin Reynolds, the director, became so frustrated at the production's demand to keep Kevin in the lead and reduce Alan Rickman's screen time that he walked away from the project just a week before its release. Costner's villain era started in 1993, by the way, when he used his star power to keep competing films from succeeding. Here's how the story goes. The actor was originally cast to star in the 1993 film Tombstone, which was based on American law enforcement agent and prominent gambler Wyatt Earp. However, he'd gotten into one disagreement too many with the directors and decided to walk away from the project. Kevin decided he was going to put up a fight and funded the 1994 film Wyatt Earp. Yup, he used the same lead character as the film he'd just walked away from. His shady business continued, and Kevin started talking to media houses to not distribute Tombstone. He was so determined to bring down the rivaling film that he apparently funneled several $1 million in the process. Ironically, Tombstone was a hit and Wyatt Earp was a flop. Then, of course, came Waterworld. The film was a box office bomb, making only a fraction of the $175 million it cost to make the film. A fun fact, well, not a fun fact for Kevin Costner at least, was that the Hawaiian economy made $35 million because of Waterworld. Steven Spielberg, the man behind Jaws, had apparently warned Kevin and Reynolds of how difficult and costly it'd be to film in the open sea. They didn't listen, and when the production started running out of money, Kevin fronted huge checks to keep the film running. It looked like he was sure it'd all pay off in the end. Cut to the end, and the actor had lost millions. Waterworld wasn't a horrible movie by any means, but the underwater submerged film was more expensive to make than the support it received from fans. Despite all that money, Waterworld is amongst Kevin's most forgettable films, unless obviously you consider being ranked among the worst box office bombs memorable. And now, to answer the question, how much money is Kevin Costner fronting for Horizon? Not only has the actor wanted to make the Western for the longest time, but he was also willing to gamble away a thriving lead role on Yellowstone for it. It better be worth it, right? Not just for the trade-off in his acting career, but also because the actor's reportedly taken out a mortgage on his California home to fund the project. Kevin's been all praise for Horizon, which makes sense because of what's at stake here. The guy's forfeited his acting, directing, and producing fees and written a few checks himself to make the movie happen. He'd done that once before too, when he forfeited his salary for Open Range to keep things running. That one paid off. But if there's one thing worth noting about Kevin, it's that he hasn't had the best luck in his professional career. Still, when reporters asked him if he was worried at all about potentially losing millions, Kevin replied that he wasn't. Horizon was definitely going to be a hit. I guess we'll just have to wait until it's released to find out, won't we? So, from Kevin Costner taking out a mortgage on his California home to make Horizon happen, to the star of Yellowstone risking his acting career, multi-million-dollar status, and reputation, that's how Kevin Costner is gambling away his career.